Take a look at your kitchen right now. The bag of chips in your pantry, the roll of paper towels on the counter, the bottle of juice in your fridge, they're all smaller than they were 2 years ago. And you probably didn't notice. That bag of Doritos used to be 9.75 ounces. Now it's 9.25. The Bounty paper towel roll had 86 sheets. Now it has 74. That Gatorade bottle was 32 ounces. Now it's 28. The prices didn't go down. In many cases, they went up. You're paying more money for less product. And the packaging is specifically designed so you never realize it. This isn't inflation in the traditional sense. This is something sneakier, more deliberate, and far more profitable. It's called shrinkflation. And once you learn to see it, you'll find it everywhere. Shrinkflation is the practice of reducing the size, quantity, or quality of a product while maintaining or increasing its price. The term combines shrink and inflation because the net effect on the consumer is identical to a price increase. You get less purchasing power. But it happens invisibly. The concept isn't new. Companies have been quietly reducing product sizes for decades. But the practice has accelerated dramatically in recent years as input costs, raw materials, labor, energy, transportation have surged. Rather than pass those costs directly to consumers through visible price increases, manufacturers have increasingly chosen the stealth approach. Make the product smaller and hope nobody notices. And for the most part, nobody does notice. That's the entire point. The reason shrinkflation works so well comes down to a fundamental asymmetry in how the human brain processes information. We are extremely sensitive to price changes. If a bag of chips costs $4.99 one week and $5.49 the next week, many consumers will notice immediately. They'll compare prices on the shelf. They'll consider switching to a cheaper brand. They might even complain. But if that same bag of chips stays at $4.99 while quietly losing half an ounce of product, almost nobody notices. The package looks the same. It's on the same shelf. The price tag matches what you remember. Your brain processes same product, same price, and moves on. This is what makes shrinkflation so devastatingly effective as a pricing strategy. It exploits the gap between what we pay attention to, the price, and what we ignore, the fine print on the package showing the net weight or unit count. Behavioral economists have studied this phenomenon extensively, and the findings explain exactly why companies prefer shrinkflation over straightforward price increases. The first principle is called nominal price rigidity. Consumers develop mental reference points for what things should cost. A gallon of milk should be around $4, a bag of chips should be around $5, a can of soda should be around $150. When prices cross these psychological thresholds, especially round numbers, consumers react strongly. A bag of chips going from $4.99 to $5.29 feels like a significant increase even though it's only 30 cents. Shrinkflation avoids triggering these reference price violations. The number on the price tag stays within the expected range. The consumer's mental model of what this costs remains undisturbed. The cost increase is entirely hidden in the quantity. The second principle is called unit price neglect. Most consumers don't calculate or compare price per ounce. They compare sticker prices. If brand A chips are $4.99 and brand B chips are $5.29, most people choose brand A without checking whether brand A's bag is actually smaller. The unit price, the true cost comparison, is usually printed in tiny text on the shelf label where almost nobody looks. Retailers know this. Manufacturers know this. And they exploit it systematically. The third principle is package size illusion. Companies invest significant resources in package design that masks quantity reductions. A common technique is making the package taller while making it narrower, maintaining the visual impression of the same volume while actually containing less product. Another technique is adding more air to chip bags or redesigning bottle shapes with indentations that reduce capacity while maintaining the external profile. Ice cream is the classic example. What used to be a standard half-gallon, 64 ounces container has gradually shrunk to 48 ounces across most major brands, But the containers look nearly identical on the shelf because manufacturers redesign them to be slightly taller and narrower. Unless you compare old and new containers side by side, the difference is nearly imperceptible. Let's walk through specific examples with documented before and after comparisons. Frito-Lay has been one of the most aggressive practitioners of shrinkflation. The standard bag of Doritos went from 9.75 ounces to 9.25 ounces, a 5% reduction with no price decrease. Lay's classic chips went from 10 ounces to 9.5 ounces. Tostitos went from 13 ounces to 11.5 ounces, an 11.5% reduction. Across their entire portfolio, Frito-Lay has systematically reduced sizes while maintaining or increasing prices. Procter & Gamble, the consumer goods giant behind brands like Bounty, Charmin, and Tide, has shrunk multiple products. Bounty paper towel rolls went from 86 sheets to 74, a 14% reduction. Charmin Ultra Soft went from 352 sheets per roll to 244 sheets, a staggering 30% reduction. They offset this by introducing confusing size labels like Mega Roll, Super Mega Roll, and Mega Plus that make direct comparison nearly impossible. PepsiCo shrank Gatorade bottles from 32 ounces to 28 ounces, a 12.5% reduction, while simultaneously raising prices. The new bottle has a sleeker design that feels roughly the same in your hand, disguising the reduced volume. General Mills reduced family-size cereal boxes across multiple brands. Cocoa Puffs family size went from 19.3 ounces to 18.1 ounces. Cinnamon Toast Crunch went from 19.3 to 18.8. The boxes look identical because General Mills maintained the same box dimensions while reducing the fill level. The box is literally less full, but you can't tell from the outside. Mondelez, the company behind Oreos, shrank the family size package from 19.1 ounces to 18.12 ounces. They also changed the packaging slightly, so direct comparison with the old package is difficult. Unilever reduced the size of Dove soap bars, Hellmann's mayonnaise, and multiple ice cream products. The Hellmann's squeeze bottle went from 25 ounces to 20 ounces, a 20% reduction, while the price actually increased. And it's not just food. Kimberly-Clark reduced the number of tissues in Kleenex boxes. Consumer cleaning products have been reformulated with more water and less active ingredient, which is technically quality reduction rather than size reduction, but achieves the same economic effect. Even toilet paper has gotten narrower. Many brands have reduced roll width by a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, barely perceptible to the touch but meaningful at manufacturing scale. When confronted about shrinkflation, companies typically offer one of several standard responses. The most common is the "we're absorbing costs to keep prices affordable" argument. The claim is that by reducing the size slightly, the company can maintain the familiar price point that consumers prefer, rather than raising prices which would hurt budget-conscious shoppers. This framing positions shrinkflation as a consumer-friendly choice, a sacrifice the company is making on your behalf. The reality is more nuanced. Companies pursue shrinkflation specifically because it protects profit margins while minimizing consumer pushback. If they genuinely prioritized consumer welfare, they would reduce their own margins before reducing the product. In most documented cases of shrinkflation, company profit margins remained stable or increased, suggesting that the size reduction wasn't a reluctant last resort, but a deliberate profit optimization strategy. Another common defense is, "we've improved the recipe or formula." This is the qualitative version of shrinkflation, the claim that while the quantity may be less, the quality is better. So the value proposition is actually maintained or improved. In some cases this may be true, but it's extremely difficult for consumers to verify, and it provides convenient cover for straightforward quantity reductions. The most honest response, which companies almost never give publicly, is simply, "we did it because we can." The competitive landscape means that if one company shrinks its product and a competitor doesn't, the company that shrinks gains a margin advantage while maintaining shelf price competitiveness. This creates a race to the bottom where every company in a category gradually shrinks products in lockstep, and consumers have no better option to switch to. Shrinkflation has increasingly become a political issue as consumer awareness has grown. In the United States, President Biden called out shrinkflation specifically during his 2024 State of the Union address, holding up examples of products that had shrunk while maintaining prices. Several members of Congress have introduced legislation requiring more prominent unit pricing or disclosure of recent size changes on packaging. France went further, requiring retailers to display notices when products have been reduced in size while maintaining or increasing prices. The law mandates a specific label near the product, informing consumers of the change. This is one of the first regulatory attempts to directly combat shrinkflation through mandatory transparency. Brazil implemented similar requirements, and the European Union has discussed potential continent-wide regulations addressing the practice. In the United States, regulatory action has been limited. The Federal Trade Commission has the authority to address deceptive practices, but shrinkflation exists in a legal gray area. Companies are not technically lying about what's in the package. The net weight is printed accurately on the label. They're just making it harder for consumers to notice the change. The fundamental challenge is that shrinkflation isn't illegal. It's a legitimate business practice in most jurisdictions. What makes it controversial isn't its legality, but its deliberate exploitation of human psychological limitations. There are practical steps consumers can take to identify and combat shrinkflation. The single most effective strategy is comparing unit prices rather than sticker prices. Most grocery stores display the price per ounce or price per unit on the shelf label, usually in small text below the main price. This normalizes the comparison across different package sizes and brands, immediately revealing which option is genuinely cheapest. Many grocery store apps now allow you to sort and filter by unit price, making this comparison even easier. Some consumer advocacy groups have developed apps specifically designed to track shrinkflation by monitoring package size changes over time. Buying store brands is another effective strategy. Private label products tend to resist shrinkflation longer than name brands because their primary value proposition is already price. Shrinking the product would undermine their positioning. Store brands also typically offer better unit prices than name brands to begin with. Buying in bulk from warehouse clubs like Costco can reduce your exposure to shrinkflation, because larger format packaging tends to offer better unit economics and is slower to be reformulated. However, even warehouse clubs are not immune. Some bulk products have also experienced size reductions. And fundamentally, becoming a more conscious consumer, checking weights, comparing unit prices, and being skeptical of new packaging redesigns is the most sustainable defense. Companies shrink products because consumers don't notice. The moment you start noticing, the strategy loses its power. The cumulative impact of shrinkflation is significant and underappreciated. If a household's grocery products shrink by an average of 10% over a 2-year period, which is consistent with documented trends in many categories, that household is effectively paying 10% more for the same consumption. For a family spending $800 per month on groceries, that's an additional $80 per month or $960 per year in hidden costs. This hidden inflation doesn't show up in official inflation statistics the way price increases do. The Consumer Price Index does attempt to account for quality and quantity changes, but the adjustments are imperfect and often lagging. This means that real inflation, the actual decrease in purchasing power experienced by consumers, is likely higher than reported figures suggest. Shrinkflation is inflation by stealth. It transfers wealth from consumers to corporations through a mechanism specifically designed to evade detection, and as long as consumers remain unaware, it will continue. That's the profit equation behind shrinkflation. Your products are getting smaller, your prices are going up, and the packaging is designed so you never realize it's happening. The next time you're at the grocery store, flip the package over. Check the weight. Compare the unit price. Because the most expensive products aren't the ones with the highest prices. They're the ones that are shrinking while you're not looking.